NBA Contenders, the teams we widely classify as the top tier bunch of the league and the teams with a legitimate chance to win a championship. But how many of them do we see every year? According to Phil Jackson's definition of an NBA contender, it is a team that reaches 40 wins in the regular season before reaching 20 losses. This doesn't necessarily mean a team can have both of these, but a team must win their 40th game before losing their 20th. So in today's video, we are going to study the trends in NBA history to see how accurate this logic has proven to be. And we're going to find out which NBA teams fit the criteria for this season. Before we start that though, I'm going to need you guys to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I mean, come on, it only takes like 2 seconds. I'm not lecturing you with a 60-second sponsorship or anything, but you're already here, so why not stay for a while? But anyways, let's get right into it. Now, this trend took quite a bit of time to make in entirety. Since the start of the NBA in 1946, there has been a total of 234 contending teams, meaning that on average, there's a little more than 3 contenders per season. But how often has a contender won the championship? Between the 75 seasons where a playoff format has been played, because we obviously can't count this year yet, 59 of the 75 seasons had a deemed contender win it all, which is roughly a 79% success rate. Now, it should be noted that part of those 16 seasons include years where there was no contenders. Yes, believe it or not, there was actually instances where there was no contenders for a championship that somebody had to win. In the 1947-1948 season, 1950-1951, 51-52, 54-55, 55-56, 56-57, and most recently in 1976-1977. Franchises such as the Sacramento Kings, then known as the Royals, as well as the Portland Trail Blazers, took advantage of this in winning their only championships during these times, in 1951 and 1977 respectively. As for the other 9 times every contender lost, it starts in the opening season in 1946-1947, where the Washington Capitals were the only contending team, but they lost in the semifinals to the Chicago Stags. Next one is pretty interesting because everybody always discusses how Bill Russell has 11 rings, but he also did not go flawless in the NBA Finals, nor could he defeat the non-contender St. Louis Hawks in 1958. Then in 1969, it was the Bullets who blew their chance against the Knicks. Ironically enough, when it came to 1975, it was both the Celtics and the Bullets. Obviously with different constructed rosters then, but Boston lost to Washington, who was embarrassed in the finals by the non-contending Golden State Warriors. The years of the 1978-1979 rivalry between Washington and Seattle featured both teams to win a title as a non-contender. The Rockets won it all as a non-contending 6th seed in 1995 after the Clyde Drexler midseason trade. The 2004 Pistons also win without being a contender. Same thing with the 2006 Miami Heat squad with Shaq and D. Wade. But believe it or not, the most recent NBA champion that was a non-contender happened last year. The Milwaukee Bucks, behind Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and so on. Speaking in totality, among the 234 contending teams in NBA history, 50 of them lost to a non-contender, which means that 21%, roughly 1 in every 5 contending teams, will lose to a non-contender. Last year, the Phoenix Suns lost to the Milwaukee Bucks, which was deemed a contender, losing to a non-contender by this logic. However, when just weighing the losses, almost 29% of a contender's losses come against non-contending teams. But how many times has a non-contender beaten multiple contending teams in the same playoff run? And the answer is 5. The 1988-1989 Chicago Bulls were the first one to do it. This is when Michael Jordan hit the shot against the Cavs and then led his Bulls past the New York Knicks. We also got the 1994-1995 Houston Rockets, the 2005-2006 Miami Heat, and the 2017-2018 Cleveland Cavaliers in one of LeBron's most iconic playoff runs. And the Miami Heat did it again during the 2020 bubble, beating both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. Of these teams, only the 1995 Rockets and the 2006 Heat came away with the title. But to dive more into that 1995 Rockets team, they are the only non-contending team in NBA history to defeat a contender every round of the playoffs. And the one contender they didn't face that year, the Seattle Supersonics, lost to the non-contending Los Angeles Lakers that year, which made the 1995 playoffs the only year in which all the contenders lost to a non-contender when there was 5 or more contenders. Sounds crazy, but it's even crazier when you realize that Michael Jordan, despite having limited time back, was still playing on a non-contending team in the playoffs, and they weren't even one of those 5 to contribute to the contenders. However, there has been one contending team to beat 4 other contenders in the NBA playoffs, and that was the 2000-2001 Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. They defeated the Trailblazers, the Kings, the Spurs, and Allen Iverson's 76ers in the NBA Finals, all of which won 50 or more games that year. And that leads me to how the NBA great players and teams perform as a contending team. Just how many times they won the title while being the contender as opposed to not. And in the video description, you can find an entire Google Doc that showcases more than 100 NBA players in history, along with every NBA team to ever exist on that document. It also includes the full year-by-year results with the fun fact statistics from this video. So I strongly encourage you to check that out thoroughly if you are deeply invested in how some players and franchises stack up against one another. But now in this video, we're going to be talking about the labeled contenders for this season, since as I mentioned earlier, 79% of all NBA championships are won by a contender, which is pretty close to the percentage of teams that win a playoff series after going up 3-2 from a Game 5 win, nearly 4 of every 5 seasons. This season, however, there are 3 championship contenders, and that being the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, and the Memphis Grizzlies. But let's start in reverse order. For the Memphis Grizzlies, this is their 3rd season in franchise history being a contender, and this team has come out and surprised a lot of people this year because many people thought they'd still be a serious team but might have to get through the play-in to make the playoffs once again. And as a Bulls fan, I know a lot of people are comparing it to the 2010-2011 season for us, but I would say it's more like the 2011-2012 year. I mean, the Grizzlies' defense has been amazing after a rough first month and a half of the year. Ja Morant is playing like one of the best point guards in the NBA this year, just like Derrick Rose in 2012. And even when he's been gone, this team has been great. I mean, they've been playing really well without Ja Morant this year. Have great perimeter defense too. They're incredibly young. So would they get the betting odds favorite to win the championship? Probably not. But they have a legitimate chance from what I've seen this year, and you can't count them out. I could see it going both ways. Maybe their young team makes them more motivated to play hard every play, and it wills them to the title. On the other hand, maybe their young team is too inexperienced, and maybe they get surprised by a team like Utah or Dallas or Denver. But at this current time, yes, they are a contender, and this has an argument to be the best season in Grizzlies franchise history as well. Next is the Golden State Warriors, who are in their 9th franchise season as a deemed contender. And to open it up, they are for sure contenders. I mean, they probably have one of the deepest teams in the league. And when the Warriors first started asserting themselves in the contention status from the era back in 2015, their motto was strength in numbers. Obviously, to add a guy like Kevin Durant to 3 potential Hall of Famers, they're going to lose some of that. But now it's back. I think the one thing that stands in their way is health and reps. Klay has already missed about 2.5 years and missed some games here and there. Draymond's missed a lot of games in 2022. Curry, of course, has an injury history. He's going to be coming off his injury. Now, if they're all 100% for the playoffs and their bench keeps playing well like they did early in the year, guys like Wiggins, Poole, Gary Payton II, to support their stars, and a top 15th anniversary coach too, then they'll be tough to beat. But for the first time since 2019, the Warriors are contenders once again. At least according to Phil Jackson. And then we got the Phoenix Suns, who, just like the Warriors, are in their 9th season as a deemed contender in the NBA. And also, like the Golden State Warriors, they should easily be seen as a legit contender. I mean, they made the finals last year and are doing all of this again. And I know people wanted to dismiss their playoff run last year because of injuries to the Lakers and the Clippers, even the Nuggets. But the Suns weren't 100% either. I mean, they lost a primary bench big man in Dario Saric. Chris Paul had the shoulder problem early in the playoffs and then missed the first few games of the Western Conference Finals. And to play on a shoulder injury like that, one could even argue that maybe it was detrimenting the Suns worse than injured players who didn't play. So it's hard to pose them as non-legit contenders for that. They're on pace for a record-setting season for the franchise with 4 different 8-game winning streaks. So based on the regular season, they should probably be the favorites. If consistency had a name this year, it would be the Phoenix Suns. Outside of their 1-3 4-game start, ever since then, they've been getting better and better and better. Now, does that mean they are the talent favorites? I mean, one could argue that maybe a healthy Nets, the Bucks, the Sixers could be up there. The Clippers had a miracle and they got their dynamic duo back. Maybe they could be in the mix. Teams like Dallas, Miami, my Chicago Bulls, Utah potentially as well. There's going to be a lot of teams to put in one category for a 21% chance to win the title, at least based on the stats we covered. But who knows, because the 21% won it all last year, being the Milwaukee Bucks. But I do think this year, the 3 contenders are all deserving of being called contenders, and probably some other teams should as well that aren't official by the criteria. So ultimately, I do think what Phil Jackson's definition as a contender has some value. It generally holds true through the test of time, but it isn't perfect in deciding the champs. Of course, the criteria is regular season based instead of with the playoffs, but I thought it would be interesting to look through history and see if the trends would indicate a specific outcome happening this year. But guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. Let me know in the comment section below if any of the other 27 teams should be in the class with the 3 contenders we covered for this year. And also, don't forget to check the description below to see the full Google Doc that has pretty much all the information laid out that you guys can check, and I'll be updating it as time goes on. I think this video took me a total of about 2 months to make in whole, which is crazy. So if you guys like content like this and you like me depriving myself of sleep to try and get it done, then I suggest you subscribe so I can do that some more. And if you're a real one to the channel, you'll know where I said that first. But on a real matter though, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'm out. Peace.